going on, everybody? A little while ago, I did actually it's probably years ago now, did a comparison of three of my favorite pistols at the time. And I thought it'd be a good idea today to do a comparison of the updated versions of said pistols that I did. So that's basically what I'm going to do. This video is not having anything to do with the US military's modular handgun program. I'm more or less just going over these three pistols, all of which I'm a big fan of. So let's just get right into it. So I'm basically going to compare the three, just features, ergonomics, reliability, takedown, things like that, and just go over the three and see if maybe I can sell you on one of them. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start with the Beretta APX. So this is Beretta's first real go into the striker-fired pistol market. It is a full-size pistol, striker-fired pistol, and they really hit the nail on the head with this one. I think this is a phenomenal striker-fired pistol. Less popular than the other two pistols I've shown, but personally I think it's an incredible gun. So let's get right into it. Up top, you've got your standard 3-dot sights with a fair bit of breathing room in between. It's very European style, like you'd see. North American style, the front and rear sight is generally very tight. Less air in between. Continuing on, slide serrations. So the slide serrations are actually very different. If I had to cover up the actual logo here, you wouldn't know who makes this pistol. This is not something recognizable that Beretta produces. So it's definitely outside the box thinking, at least in my opinion, for these serrations. Military Arms Channel actually did a torture test of this pistol a while ago, where he got the pistol wet, and Mac actually, or Tim, had trouble racking the slide because it was wet. He couldn't get any grip on it, even with these what appear to be aggressive serrations. Now, me personally, I did my own testing on this handgun. I generally do. I don't like it, but I will do it. I dunked this thing in some water. I personally didn't have any issues racking the slide, so I don't know what that was all about. Maybe it's just the way my hands are. Guess it really depends on the person, but anywho. Continuing on, the pistol does have a 3-slot Picatinny rail up front for your lights, lasers, whatever accessories you so choose. Slide stop is on both sides of the pistol. It's completely ambidextrous. All three of these pistols, just for the record, can be switched to ambidextrous shooting for left or right-handed shooters. Takedown lever. So your takedown lever is on one side. It's on the left side of the pistol with the release button on the right to take the pistol apart. Your magazine release is a teardrop shape. It is got some awesome texturing to it. And it's also very easy to press. Like it's a very easy pistol to drop the mags on, which I do like. Trigger guard is squared. There's no texturing on the front or bottom of the trigger guard. The trigger is a flat face. It's very flat compared to the other two pistols with the most people just call it a dingus. I think that's what I'm going to go with. It's basically that safety dingus that keeps the trigger from being pulled keeps the trigger from being pulled. Keeps the gun from going off unless the trigger is pulled. Working our way down, this is the only of the three pistols that actually has finger grooves. However, if you don't like finger grooves, Beretta does release these grip modules without finger grooves, should you so choose. Personally, I actually like finger grooves on pistols. Texturing is, it's a lot like the Generation 4 Glock style, the pyramids with the tips cut off. The back. Out of the three pistols I have here today, this one by far has the most aggressive texturing. I'll just show you what it looks like in my hand. Very comfortable gun to hold. Like I love the ergonomics of the APX. Now the APX, like I said, does ship with grip modules, so you have the option of changing the color, or if the finger grooves aren't your thing, you can do that. It also ships with adjustable back straps. So not only do you have the modularity for adjusting the grip size, if you want to go to a compact or a full size kind of thing, you can. You also have the option of adjustable back straps, which I personally think is a better way to go. I think back straps is a better way to go than having the the grip modules, things like this. This is just too much of a, I'm almost going to say sales gimmick. It's kind of a look what we can do. I don't think this is a better option. I mean, for certain aspects, absolutely. But overall, I think it's more of a look what we can do than it is anything else. Continuing our way down, the magazine. So standard magazine capacity for the APX is 17 rounds. Here in Canada, as you can clearly see, it only holds 10. If I had to pick a gripe about the APX, it's going to be the magazine. So it's going to be this right here. the ambidextrous for the ambidextrous magazine release. This piece specifically, generally speaking, when I buy like magazine pouches, like the Blackhawk style, for example, I just generally run Glock magazine pouches because pretty much everything fits in them because Glock mags are so big. These do not, because of this, and it'll actually, like if I try to force it in the holster, it'll actually take a shave out every time I do. And that's actually probably my second gripe with the APX is the lack of aftermarket. Holsters and things like that, finding for these types of guns are difficult, to say the least. There's not a lot of holsters in the way out there, and there's not a lot in the way of magazine pouches. It is getting better, but compared to Glock and Sig, it's non-existent. Which breaks my heart because I would love to find an ALS style holster for this if I can. Because of the fact this is my favorite pistol of the three. Just going that on record now. Alright, takedown. So to take the pistol apart, the APX is very simple. Just like all three, they're all simple. It's kind of a look what we can do again. Snap cap. So to take the pistol apart, obviously you're going to verify the firearm is unloaded. To take it down, the APX, like the Glock, has to be dry fired. Now there's two ways to do this. You can simply just pull the trigger, or if you wanted, you can actually cock the slide back a little bit to press this button right here, and it will drop this. It will safely drop the striker. Once the pistol has been dry fired, you push this button in. It is extremely stiff. Push that in nice and hard. You'll see the lever protrude out from the gun. You rotate it down, and she'll jump right off. Inside the pistol, takedown at that point is standard. Show you a quick view of the inside. This one, the APX does have a dual captured recoil spring. It is steel with a double capture spring. It actually looks broken. Like when you first take it apart, if you didn't realize it, like when I first got this, I actually thought I broke it. I was like, oh shit. So that's that. But the APX itself, or Beretta claims that these recoil springs and guide rods are good for 4 times longer than any standard recoil spring. So what that means is the average recoil spring has a life of, say, 5,000 rounds. Now, generally speaking, they will go further, but 5,000 is kind of like the set standard, which means these recoil springs are good for about 20,000 rounds, which is disgusting. That's a very long lifespan for a spring, and I really got to give a testament to Beretta's engineers for that. Give you a little look down the barrel. Standard rifling. Cold hammer forged, obviously. Beretta's known for the quality of their barrels. They make damn good barrels. I don't care what anybody says. Reliability-wise, this pistol I've had for a while. I've got 1,050 rounds through it. Actually, no. No, sorry, that's the Glock. This pistol's got about 1,200, just shy of 1,200 through it. It's been very reliable, at least for the most part. The very first magazine I put through the gun, I had a stovepipe. At about the 700 round mark, somewhere around there, I had a light strike. What caused it, I don't know, but I'm a big believer, you know what, guns malfunction. Shit happens. It could be the gun's dirty and you had an underpowered round. It's usually just a combination of things, but I've seen every type of gun in the world malfunction, so it's just a matter of, you know what, it happens. Alright, on to the next one. Sig Sauer P320. Again, I'm not going to touch on the U.S. military contract or why they won, you know, they shouldn't have won, blah, blah, blah. It's a moot point at this point because it's over. Another thing I'm not going to touch on is the drop safety. Again, that dead horse has been beat so bad that the bones have turned to dust a long time ago. So just, you know what, let it go. Anywho, getting into it. So this pistol, again, has your standard 3-dot sights. Like the APX, it has serrations from both the front and the back. The APX actually has them all the way through. The Sig has them up front and in the back. They are not very aggressive. They're actually very minor, in my opinion. They're not very good serrations. They're very recessed into the slide. But, I mean, they work. I've never had any issues with it. Up front, you've got a standard 1913 style Picatinny rail. Lots of room to put whatever lights, lasers you want on it. Again, standard trigger guard. The Sig 320 by far is the largest trigger guard. I almost always shoot with gloves. I don't generally shoot barehanded. So having that extra little slot is definitely great for gloved hands. Mind you, the Glock and the APX, it's not really a big deal. It's just a matter of having that extra little bit of real estate. I just personally prefer it. Trigger guard is textured, as you see. Obviously, this gun has the upgraded trigger pack. Takedown lever is on one side, again, except with these ones, you don't have to push the button to get it to take down. I will show you that shortly. Slide release, or slide stop on both sides. Again, ambidextrous. All three of these guns are 100% ambidextrous. You can simply, with a simple swap of the magazine release, you've now got a gun that's left-hand shooter ready. So they're very easily, technology has gotten really good, and firearms technology has gotten really good to accommodate offhand shooters. Texturing on the grip, let's see if I can show you. There you go. This is the only handgun I've ever fired that has adjustable backstraps where I actually prefer the medium over the small. I have very small hands. I'm not going to say very small, but I have small hands, and this is the only gun that a medium backstrap actually fits me better than a small, which is something that I can actually really appreciate. Magazine release is a triangular shaped, quite odd compared to what you normally see with the standard serrations on it. Down on the bottom, the magazine actually has cutouts. The magazine well has cutouts, so if you do have malfunctions or anything, you can actually grip it and drop the mag. Great idea in my opinion, I love it. I was going to get into accuracy and the trigger pulls on these guns, but without a trigger pull gauge, it's kind of a moot point. As well as accuracy, because accuracy is, again, a moot point because while I may be accurate with this pistol and garbage with another one, you might be garbage with this one and accurate with another one. So I can't really... What I can say is all three are combat effective in terms of accuracy for me. And I'll just leave it at that. Standard capacity, again, is 17 rounds, is standard. I think the military models come with, I think it's either like a 21 or a 24 round capacity magazine, which again is nasty. That's a lot of rounds to be able to put down range. Cutouts for the ambidextrous release. All three of these guns are 9mm, by the way. Recoil-wise, so that's something I didn't actually mention with the APX. The APX is by far the softest of the three. It has and I mean by far, the lowest muzzle flip out of the three pistols. This one by far kicks the worst. Again, it's because of that extremely high bore axis. It's very high compared to the other two. I'll grab the APX here really quick. I'm trying to do this around a camera, so it's going to look kind of funny, but... takedown. So Sig actually is very smart about this. Their takedown has a 3-point safety system in order to take the pistol apart. Safety system number 1, the trigger does not have to be pulled. A lot of people have real issues with pulling a trigger. Oh, well, what if the gun goes off? Now this is my opinion, not a popular one, but if you are taking your pistol apart and you pull the trigger and shoot something, that is 100% your fault, you are stupid, and you deserve to have shot yourself. Basic rule of firearm safety, assume every firearm is loaded all the time. It's always loaded until you've proved it safe. So if you're taking your pistol apart, why in the unholy hell have you not done that a couple of times first? So I'm just throwing that out there. If you shoot yourself, oh, you know, it's because I had to pull the trigger. You know what? Looks good on you. Darwin's hard at work. Round count and reliability. So again, I'll get into field strip in a second here, but this gun has 1,600 rounds through it on the dot and has been by far the least reliable of the three. I've had 11 malfunctions with this, 6 of which actually happened at a tactical course, the second tactical course I took. I don't know what it is, I don't know why, but this gun, generally speaking, has issues with feeding. So the most common malfunction I've had is a failure to feed. I've had 2 double feeds and 1 stovepipe. The rest of it's all been failure to feeds. People tell me it's my grip, all this, all that. I'm going to be honest, I shoot probably about at least 15,000 rounds a year out of my handguns. I'm fairly confident in my ability to shoot a handgun, so I'm going to go out there and say it's probably not me. People who own SIGs that I know at the range have had the same issues. It's just generally not that reliable, which is strange for a SIG, because SIG's usually one of the better names in the business. But I digress. So takedown. So like I said, it doesn't have to have the trigger pulled. Number 2, the action has to be locked back. It has to be locked back in order to take it down. Number 3, the magazine can't be in it. If the magazine is in it, the gun will not strip. So, showing it, rotating this down, again, very stiff, very stiff. You're like, right when you hit about here, it's going to feel like you're actually going to break it, but I'm telling you, you're not. Just keep going. Let her go. Off she goes. Again, I'm just going to show you a quick look on the inside. The finish on this gun actually holds up really well, at least in terms of wear. barrel. You see the barrel's showing almost no signs of wear, despite the fact it's got 1,600 rounds through it. Recoil spring. This is the only gun of the three to have a single spring recoil spring. Guide rod, however, is stainless steel. Show you the inside of the pistol here. So the P320 is by far the most modular in terms of being able to pull out the chassis of the gun. With a simple pulling this out, this entire piece comes out in there. You've actually taken your firearm out. So if you want, you can use your other modular grip modules for either the medium or the large in order to better accommodate the gun to your hand size. As well as if you want to go from a full size to a compact, all that other stuff you can do with it. You can do all of it with the same chassis, which again is a very modular feature, and it's actually a good idea in my opinion. That being said, it again is a look what we can do. It's kind of a gloating, oh, we can do this, we can do that. In reality, there's no real reason to have to take this out unless you're changing the color or changing the grip size. Aside from that, once it's there, it's going to stay there. It's kind of a moot point. Especially, again, I said I wasn't going to do it, but to touch on it, for the U.S. military units with the M17 pistol, there's actually a device. It's actually blocked, so you can't do that. It's a tamper-proof device. So again, it completely defeats the purpose of the modularity. As well as, for military, unless you're like a special forces unit, they're going to give you the medium backstrap and they're going to tell you to love it. That's just the way it is. The whole modularity in terms of being able to change the grip size is an oversold feature that will not be used, in my opinion. For civilian shooters and law enforcement, where this is their primary firearm, yeah, absolutely. But for when you've got 500,000 pistols, nah, not a chance. They're not going to fit each one to an individual soldier because again, pistols aren't fighting weapons. They're generally what you use to fight your way to a rifle. I do really like this P320 though. I really do like them. I just wish it was more reliable. Okay. Now, onto my the one that I'm going to really enjoy. So this right here is a Glock 19X. Now, if you're wondering why it has a slightly protruding barrel, that's because Canada is stupid. And as long as this barrel is that much longer, it is physically impossible to concealed carry this pistol. Yeah, wrap your head around that one. Barrel length laws. It's because mass shootings happen with guns that don't have that. But if you have that, they don't happen. Anyway, I digress. So this is the Glock 19X. This is the internet's most hated gun, the real world's most loved. This has been by far Glock's most popular gun. Like, it actually outsold all of their projections. Like, Glock actually sat back and like, holy shit, why are these selling so well? They couldn't wrap their heads around it. Anywho, getting into it. So it's got kind of like a burnt bronze finish. Glock calls it the NPVD coating. And they say it's their toughest finish yet. And oddly enough, they say every time they release a new generation, it has their toughest finish yet. So, in my opinion, was there something wrong with generations 1, 2, 3, and 4? Did the finishes suck on those, or what's going on? But, what do I know? Glock, however, is the only one of the three pistols that I'm impressed with because it ships with night sights. In my opinion, all pistols should ship with night sights. It should be mandatory. I don't know why they don't. I'm a big believer in night sights. Continuing on, again, I digress. This is also the only pistol that doesn't have front slide serrations, oddly enough. For those of you who are into the whole press checking thing, you load your gun and press check. I'm not into that whole thing. I could care less. When I go like that, I know it's loaded. I'm not too concerned about it. Anywho, just keep going on with the pistol. So up front, you have the Glock. You'll have your Glock style. Mounting rail with the single slot, not anything fancy. Continuing on. They did go back to the single pin model, which I found very interesting, but obviously whatever works for them. Again, your slide stop is fully ambidextrous. Your magazine is fully ambidextrous with a simple, take out that little lever in there. You can switch it around, no big deal. Trigger guard is your standard Glock squared off trigger guard with the texturing up front for those who do shoot with your finger wrapped around like that. Your magazine releases that large Gen 4 squared off one. I think this is great. I actually prefer the Glock style Gen 4 magazine release over any other magazine release on the other two pistols. While I do really like the mag release on the APX, I prefer this one. Now, one complaint that I actually have about the 19X is right here is the undercut where the trigger guard. So when you're grabbing the pistol and shooting, almost immediately I feel discomfort right there. Most people, what you'll see is they'll actually undercut it more. Like when you see something on the APX, that like you have so much more room down in there for your fingers. Glock, it's just for whatever reason, it's just a tad bit too small for me. Again, not a huge deal. Glock also, as you can clearly see, got rid of the finger rails. When Glock released it, the Generation 3s with the finger rails, they call it revolutionary. When the Generation 5s and these came out and they got rid of the finger rails, they called it revolutionary. So, my opinion, which is it? What's revolutionary? It's more of a rehash. I'm not trying to rip on Glock. I actually really like this Glock. This is a very soft shoot. This is the softest shooting Glock I've ever shot. And I think that's largely because of the smaller slide. You have a whole lot less mass compared to like on a 17 or a 34. But you still have a full-size grip, so you're still getting a good grip on the pistol to hang on to it. Texturing, so it's got your standard Gen 4 texturing, as well as this little notch up front. I don't know why they did this, to be honest. And there's also no area to like grab your magazine if you have a malfunction. You need to strip it out. Your back strap. So Glock did not go with the modular idea like the Sig and the APX. They stuck with their standard old just removable back straps. You punch the pin out, you snap the back strap on, you're good to go. In my opinion now, Glock is still, in my eyes, failing to innovate. You're not seeing innovation. While, yes, there's some internal changes, the color, all this, all that, the whole marksman barrel. You're just not seeing anything new at a Glock. It's kind of a rehash of old stuff put onto a new gun. And it breaks my heart because Glocks are phenomenal firearms. I don't see them going anywhere, but it'd be nice to see something innovative out of Glock. Now, one of the best features, in my opinion, on this pistol is that lanyard loop. It's an absolutely genius. Well, I can't. I can't. It does have a lanyard loop. I've heard of a lot of Special Forces guys who really like having lanyard loops. In the civilian world, I don't see a point of it, but with this one, you can remove it. Magazine capacities, your standard old Glock 17 round mags. 17, they also ship with 19 rounders for those of you who live in the free world. Here in Canada, it's a good old fashioned 10. Field strip. So to field strip a Glock, it does have to be dry fired. So obviously you're going to verify that the pistol is unloaded. You will pull the trigger. You're going to pull the slide back just enough to take pressure off the spring, pull it down, slide it right off. Boom, you field stripped a Glock. Now Glock is the only one of the three that ships with a polymer recoil spring or recoil guide rod. The spring, again, it's got your dual captive recoil springs. I don't know what the life of these is. I would assume it's probably more than 5,000 rounds. I haven't researched it enough. Now, interesting note, actually, I'm just going to point this out now, is the amount of wear on this barrel. This pistol's got 1,050 rounds through it. Or it's like 1,000 or 1,050, I can't remember. And it's already showing excessive wear on the barrel. Now, I had a Generation 3 Glock 17 that I had 6,000 rounds through, and there was barely a mark right there on it. So I don't know why this barrel wears so much faster. I suspect it might actually be the finish from the slide wearing onto the barrel. Now, also, let's see if I can get the camera focus. Yeah, so you can see it's got the protected crown. This is Glock's marksman barrel. Sales gimmick. Because the fact that they had to release what they advertise as a marksman barrel is kind of them admitting that the generations 1, 2, 3, and 4 are not accurate. Which, I mean, they're plenty accurate. You look at guys like Instructor Zero shooting a Generation 4 Glock at 300 yards and scoring hits. They're more than accurate enough. This is more of a sales pitch than anything. Inside of the slide. Standard old Glock. As you can clearly see, a lot of the internals on the Glock Gen 5s and 19X, they actually changed. They said they made the trigger better. They said they've adjusted the grip kind of thing. It all feels the same to me. It still feels like a Glock. I haven't noticed anything different, but some people say they do, and you know what? More power to them. Now, you see on the inside of the slide here, you see all that purple hue? I don't know what that is. I don't know why that's so purple. I think it might just be the finish reacting to the metal, would be my guess. I just thought I'd point that out. It's kind of neat looking. A little bit of wear on there. Not serious, though. The inside of the 19X. Good old-fashioned Glock. Get this bad boy put back together. Now, if you guys really want to, like, we can touch on it for a second. The modular handgun system program, Sig won because they were $100 million cheaper. There. Argument closed. Now, if I had to pick one of the three, which is my favorite? Well, I've already said that at the start of the video. If I had to pick one of the three, it would be the Beretta APX. This is by far my favorite pistol out of my striker fireds that I own. I just really love this gun. It's been very reliable. The Glock as well has, of course, has been reliable. It's a Glock. But overall, ergonomically, reliability, just overall, I think the APX, in my opinion, is the better of the three pistols. It's just been a really good gun for me. The recoil is not as bad. The ergonomics are phenomenal. This is just a great gun. And it breaks my heart that it isn't doing as well as the Sig 320 or the Glock 19X. Now, if we really want to touch on it for a second, which one, like let's go in the comment section here. Out of these three pistols, or if you think another pistol should have won, which pistol do you guys think should have won the MHS contract? Do you think Sig deserved it? Do you think Beretta should have been the underdog and got it? Or do you think the Glock 19X should have won? Now, if you're asking me, well, that's easy. The winner of this should have been the Beretta M9A3. There should never have been a modular handgun trials. There's no need for the US to be adopting a new handgun right now when it's trying to wind down its war efforts throughout the world. I figure if they're going to go for a new pistol, they should have gone with the M9A3. It solves all of the issues the M9 had, as well as some that you didn't even know it had. And it's just overall a phenomenal gun. And it would have saved taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars for a new handgun that the military just doesn't need. Anywho, that's kind of my quick comparison of the three handguns. I hope you guys all enjoyed watching. But yeah, let me know. Like, do you own all three of these? Do you think one of these or the M9A3 should have won the contract? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks everybody for watching, and I will see y'all next time.